Hi, I'm Liz Marcello, and I had the opportunity to do my practicum at North Central High School in Indianapolis, Indiana. I worked with the English language learners newcomer class. I was supporting the instructor by providing technology tools and instructional materials to expand the opportunities that the newcomers had to speak. The reason I chose to focus on technology combined with speaking activities was it's difficult to give learners time to practice speaking during class, so the technology allowed learners to listen and practice outside of class. Then it's also difficult for the instructor to find time and space to assess and give one-to-one feedback to learners on their speaking abilities, but the technology allows the instructor to do this. Also, traditionally, English learners score lower on speaking than the other three domains of reading, writing, and listening. So it was just an area that can be targeted to bring up some of those speaking test scores. And then using technology and the speaking activities together parallels the way that learners will test it during second semester for their speaking abilities. So this really allows them to start getting comfortable with that testing format. The main technology platform that we used for this project was Flipgrid. And Flipgrid, we chose Flipgrid because of its accessibility for the instructor and for the students. One great thing about Flipgrid is that the instructor and I could share a Flipgrid grid, which is like a class. And so we had equal power to control that. Flipgrid was really great because here we could post videos for the learners to use as models and practice videos. And then the same platform, they posted videos back to us. When they posted videos back to us, we could leave feedback in a variety of ways. We could write feedback. We could write feedback and give video feedback. We could do like text-like comments. We could create a rubric. So really, again, Flipgrid was accessible, it was flexible, and it was free. And it worked great for what we were trying to do, which was get the learners speaking English and allowing ourselves opportunity to respond to them. I did several things to prepare this project and see it to its completion point. First, I created a learning alignment chart where I took vocabulary topics, language structures, and what the WIDA Consortium, which is kind of the authority for K through 12 education, really targeted for newcomer learners. And I aligned all of those for the instructor. This is something she asked for at the beginning, referenced throughout the project, and is asking that I continue to develop. And she also has started contributing to this chart as well. So that really formed an anchor for the topics that we chose and the way that we crafted the speaking activities. I also designed, developed, implemented, and then we together formatively evaluated 4 different components of the learning. So we had 1A component, 1B component, 2A, 2B, and for each one, I designed and developed. Initially, I also implemented, but I kind of shifted some of the implementation and some of the Flipgrid development over to the instructor in hopes that she would continue carrying the project independently after my support time was finished. So for each topic, I would create a video and a presentation, a word list, a facilitator's guide for the lesson, and then any other supporting materials that were needed for that particular unit. So that was a big part of the development of the project, was the development of those 4 units. I also worked to develop assessment strategies for the learners speaking videos. And this went through several different iterations before the instructor identified the way that she wanted to move forward doing it, which was creating a tracking system for each student from week to week, just using a basic Excel document. So I created that for her after we had our exit interview. Along the way, I was evaluating. So the approach that I took was to design, develop, implement 1 unit of instruction, and then the instructor and I would sit and review how everything went and refine, and then I would go back and design, develop, and implement the second unit, and we would repeat the process of reviewing. So I have a formative evaluation after the first launch, a formative evaluation after the second launch. The third launch, we reviewed more informally in interview form, and then 2B, which was the fourth launch, put us right to the end of the practicum. So at that point, the instructor and I had a longer exit interview. And then the instructor did a survey for me to let me have additional feedback on how she felt that the project went. So evaluation was a part of the project development. Of course, there were challenges along the way. Time always poses challenges both to the instructor and the designer. So the instructor was limited in what she could spend time developing. We were limited in the times that we could find to talk. So there was always more to talk about than we got a chance to talk through. So we prioritized and tried to sneak in hallway conversations, emailed, and then had our regularly scheduled meeting times once a week. Scope creep became a challenge. The project twisted a little bit at its beginning. There was a reason I chose to start with speaking activities, but it became apparent midway through the project that there were more fundamental issues that needed to be addressed before the speaking could be really couched well in the learner's entire context. And so it was, I found myself trying to address some of those other issues kind of as I went along through modeling and discussion, but unable for the shortness of the practicum to totally switch over to addressing them fully. It was challenging to fully transition to the instructor. She did implement and manage Flipgrid, but the design and development side are yet to transition. It was also more challenging to prompt meaningful use of the language with the learners' videos than I originally envisioned. What worked really well, the strategy that I took as the initial implementer, one reason I did that was to gain buy-in from the instructor before requiring the instructor to invest time and energy. And the initial implementation also allowed me to iron out a lot of the technology snags for her before she had to work with the technology and implement and be with doing that independently with the students. So that really worked out well. The strategy to implement rapidly and then go back to the redesign, redevelop worked extremely well, partially due to our short time frame. So this really fleshed out the unnecessary things that I was doing for designer development. It also fleshed out bad ideas and really fleshed out a lot of good ideas, because the more concrete experience and materials we had in front of us, the better the conversations went and the more quickly they went to creating a better product. Flipgrid worked excellently. It's flexible, it's free, it's accessible. The students got used to it really quickly. While it was difficult to gather or pull out meaningful use of language, we did successfully integrate authentic vocabulary words for the speaking activity. So the learners were learning and practicing words that they would then walk into the hallway and use or walk to the cafeteria and use. So that part was successful. I would say overall the project was a success. The instructor plans to continue integrating Flipgrid in the speaking project. She was really pleased about that, that platform and what she could do in the future. I also plan to continue to develop and support the instructor for a little bit and then transition that development and support to the E&L coach who is back in the collaboration position for the newcomer classroom. And then our supervisor, the E&L department chair, is excited about the potential uses of Flipgrid for multiple classes. So she's invited us to present Flipgrid to the other teachers in our professional learning community so that they can also look for ways to integrate that. So overall, I would say the project was really a successful endeavor.